Bit Bank of Pre-Maurya Maha Janapadas and Key Kingdoms. General questions on Maha Janapadas. 1. What does Shodhasha Maha Janapadas mean? Answer. 16 Great Kingdoms. 2. Which period is referred to as the age of second urbanization? Answer. Pre-Mauryan period. 3. What is the time span for the Shodhasha Maha Janapadas? Answer. 600 to 300 BCE. 4. Which archaeological feature is commonly associated with the period of the Shodhasha Maha Janapadas? Answer. Northern Black Polished Ware NBPW. 5. Which language was spoken by Buddha and used for composing Buddhist literature? Answer. Pali. 6. Which form of Prakrit was adopted by Jones for their canonical literature? Answer. Ardha Magdhi. 7. In which region was Saurasini Prakrit primarily spoken? Answer. Madhura, Uttar Pradesh. 8. Which Prakrit is associated with the inscriptions of the Satavahanas? Answer. Maharashtra Prakrit. 9. Which modern language evolved from Maharashtra Prakrit? Answer. Marathi. 10. Where was the Prakrit, Apastamba, primarily spoken? Answer. Gujarat. 11. Which Buddhist text lists the 16 great territorial states Maha Janapadas? Answer. Anguttara Nikaya. 12. According to Yuan Sang, who built the city of Rajagriha? Answer. Bimbisara. 13. Which city was the capital of Fanga during the time of the Maha Janapadas? Answer. Champa. 14. What was the capital of Magad during the time of Bimbisara? Answer. Rajagriha Girivraj. 15. Which region had two capitals, Shravasti and Kushavati? Answer. Kosala. 16. Which of the following was the capital of Kashi? Answer. Varanasi. 17. Where was the capital of Panchala located? Answer. Kampilya and Ahichitra. 18. Which Mahajanpada had Hastinpura as its capital? Answer. Kuru. 19. Which city was the capital of Vatsa? Answer. Kaushambi. 20. Which city was the capital of Sorsina? Answer. Madhura. 21. Which Mahajanpada was known as a confederation of 8 kingdoms? Answer. Vajji. 22. What was Vajji also known as? Answer. Ashtakulika. 23. Which kingdom led the Vajji confederation? Answer. Lichavi. 24. Where was the capital of the Lichavians? Answer. Vajji. 25. Mahavira belonged to which clan and kingdom? Answer. Jnatrika clan, Vajji. 26. What was the capital of the Mal Republic? Answer. Pavapuri. 27. Where did the Buddha pass away? Answer. Kushinara. 28. Which was the capital of the Matsya Mahajanpada? Answer. Virtangara. 29. Where was the capital of Avanti located? Answer. Ujjain and Maheshmati. 30. Which region was Gandhara located in? Answer. Punjab and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. 31. Where was the capital of Cambodia located? Answer. Rajkot, Pakistan. 32. What was the capital of Asmaka? Answer. Patola. 33. Where were the majority of the kingdoms concentrated during the time of the Maha Janapadas? Answer. Ganges Plains. 34. Where were the majority of the republics concentrated? Answer. Himalayan foothills. 35. What was the main characteristic of the lands occupied by republics compared to kingdoms? Answer. Republics occupied less fertile and hilly areas, while kingdoms occupied fertile lands. 36. Which river's water was the source of conflict between the Kolyas and Sakyas? Answer. Rohini. 37. Which of the following was one of the 10 Gana Rajyas republics mentioned in Buddhist literature? Answer. Sakyas of Kapilavastu. 38. What was the capital of the Sakyas, one of the Gana Rajyas? Answer. Kapilavastu. 39. Who were the Nayars of Jnatrika, mentioned in the Buddhist literature as one of the 10 republics? Answer. The ruling family of Kundagrama. 40. Mahavira is known as Naiputha. What does Naiputha mean? Answer. Son of the Nayars. 41. Which Gana Raja had the Mallas as its main clan and Kushinara as its capital? Answer. Mallas. 42. The Kolyas of Ramagrama were involved in a conflict with which other group? Answer. Sakyas of Kapilavastu. 43. Where were the Mauryas located and what were they known for? Answer. Pipalivana Gorakhpur region, known for taming peacocks. 44. Which of the following republics was located in the foothills of the Himalayas? Answer. Bhaggas of Sumsuma. 45. Where was the capital of the Lichavis, one of the prominent Gana Rajyas? Answer. Vaishali. 46. Which two kingdoms were mentioned in the Mahavastu text instead of Gandhara and Kamboja? Answer. Dashara and Sibe. 47. Which two kingdoms were not mentioned in Bhagavati Sutra, a Jain text? Answer. Gandhara and Kamboja. 48. What reason is suggested for Gandhara and Kamboja not being mentioned in some texts? Answer. They were under Iranian control for a period. 49. Who was Dadivana, as mentioned in Jain literature? Answer. A prince and contemporary of Mahavira and Buddha. 50. Who was Chandna, according to Jain literature? Answer. A princess who embraced Jainism. 51. Which was the first woman to embrace Jainism, according to Jain texts? Answer. Chandna. 52. Where did Buddha spend several days during his life, as mentioned in the context of Anga? Answer. Near the banks of Gagra Pushkarini. 53. Who defeated Brahmadatta, the king of Anga? Answer. Bimbisara. 54. Which ancient seaport was located in Anga and was vital for trade? Answer. Tamralipthi. 55. Why was control over Tamralipthi essential for Magad? Answer. It was the main port for sea trade. 56. During the Vedic period, how many independent kingdoms were there in Kosala? Answer. 2. 57. What were the capitals of the two independent kingdoms of Kosala during the Vedic period? Answer. Shravasti and Kushavthi. 58. Who was the ruler of Kosala during the 6th century BC? Answer. Prasenajit. 59. Which famous university did Prasenajit graduate from? Answer. Takshashila Takshil. 60. What action did Prasenajit take with regard to the kingdoms of Uttara Kosala and Dakshina Kosala? Answer. He united both Uttara and Dakshina Kosala. 61. Which kingdom did Prasenajit conquer? Answer. Kashi. 62. Which Buddhist text mentions Kosala Janapada the most? Answer. Pali literature. 63. Who was Mahamaya, the mother of Buddha? Answer. A princess from Shravasti. 64. Where did Mahamaya give birth to Siddhartha, the future Buddha? Answer. Kapilavastu. 65. What famous event does the Shravasti Chamtkara painting depict? Answer. Buddha shown in 1000 forms. 66. Which of the following is a nickname used for Buddha in Majjhima Nikaya? Answer. Koslan. 67. Who was the first king to maintain a standing army in Kosala? Answer. Prasenajit. 68. Who was Vidudaka Vidudab? Answer. The first Senapati of Kosala. 69. Which kingdom did Vidudaka conquer during his reign? Answer. Kapilvastu. 70. What natural disaster led to the downfall of Vidudaka? Answer. Flood. 71. Who occupied Kosala after Vidudaka's reign? Answer. Ajatshutru. 72. Who was the famous prime minister during the reign of Prasenajit? Answer. Dirgha Charayana. 73. What is the Vajji Confederation? Answer. A confederation of 8 kingdoms. 74. Who was Chetka in relation to Mahavira? Answer. Maternal uncle. 75. Who was Trishala Devi in relation to Chetka? Answer. His sister. 76. Which two royal families are connected to the relationship between Siddhartha and Trishala? Answer. Gnatrika and Lichavi. 77. Which kingdom was Lichavi a part of? Answer. Vajji Confederation. 78. Who was Bimbisara's wife, daughter of Chetka? Answer. Chelana. 79. How long did Ajatshutru fight with Vajji before conquering it? Answer. 16 years. 80. Which kingdom did Ajatshutru, son of Bimbisara, ultimately conquer? Answer. Vajji. 81. Which historical text refers to the Vajji Confederation? Answer. Anguttara Nikaya. 82. Who was the ruler of Magad who fought against the Vajji Confederation? Answer. Ajatshutru. 83. Which branch of the Kurus formed the Vatsa kingdom? Answer. A branch of the Kurus. 84. Which famous Buddhist monastery was located in the Vatsa kingdom? Answer. Gositharama. 85. Which ruler of Vatsa was contemporary with Buddha? Answer. Uddiyana. 86. Which Sanskrit drama by Bhasha is set in the Vatsa kingdom, centered around Uddiyana and Vasvadatha? Answer. Swapna Vasvadatha. 87. In the drama, Swapna Vasvadatha, which two kingdoms are portrayed as rivals? Answer. Vatsa and Avanti. 88. Which ruler succeeded Uddiyana and became the ruler of Vatsa? Answer. Palka Nandi Varman. 89. Who conquered the Vatsa kingdom after Palka's rule? Answer. The rulers of Avanti. 90. Which other plays by Harsha Vardhana dealt with the same story as Swapna Vasvadatha? Answer. Priyadarshika and Ratnavali. 91. What was the major theme of the play, Swapna Vasvadatha? Answer. Udyana's love story with Vasvadatha. 92. Which literary period does Swapna Vasvadatha belong to? Answer. Gupta period. 93. Which dynasty ruled the kingdom of Avanti? Answer. Pradyotha. 94. Who was the great ruler of Avanti and contemporary to Buddha? Answer. Pradyotha Mahasena. 95. Which ruler did Pradyotha Mahasena have a rivalry with? Answer. Bimbisara. 96. What was the diplomatic event involving Jivka that led to a friendship between Pradyotha Mahasena and Bimbisara? Answer. Jivka cured Pradyotha Mahasena of jaundice. 97. After Udyana, who conquered the Vatsa kingdom? Answer. Pradyotha Mahasena. 98. Which king of Magad eventually conquered Avanti? Answer. Sisunga. 99. What condition did Pradyotha Mahasena suffer from, which led to the involvement of Jivka? Answer. Jaundice. 100. Which event marked the end of Pradyotha Mahasena's control over Avanti? Answer. Conquest by Sisunga. 101. Who was the king of Gandhara during the early period mentioned in the text? Answer. Pukkusti. 102. Which famous grammarian lived in Gandhara during the 6th century BC? Answer. Panini. 103. Which famous work was written by Panini, the grammarian from Gandhara? Answer. Ashtadhyayi. 104. Which empire conquered Gandhara after the rule of Pukkusti? Answer. Persian Achaemeni Empire. 105. Which Achaemenid king was a contemporary of Buddha and conquered Gandhara? Answer. Cyrus the Great. 106. What is the significance of Gandhara under the Achaemenid Empire? Answer. It was a wealthy satrapy that contributed 1/3 of the empire's income. 107. Which ancient historian mentioned Gandhara as the 28th satrapy of the Achaemenid Empire? Answer. Herodotus. 108. Who succeeded Cyrus the Great and expanded the control over Gandhara? Answer. Darius I. 109. Which ancient region was known for its rich contribution to the Achaemenid Empire's economy and culture? Answer. Gandhara. 110. What was the capital of Gandhara during its peak? Answer. Taxila. 111. What was the capital of Panchala kingdom? Answer. Kanyakubja. 112. Which city became the capital of India during Harsha's time? Answer. Kannauj. 113. Who conquered the Panchala kingdom? Answer. Mahapadma. 114. Who was the king of Chedi mentioned in the Mahabharata? Answer. Shishupala. 115. Which famous epic mentions Shishupala as the rival of Krishna? Answer. Mahabharata. 116. Which kingdom was conquered by Mahapadma Nanda besides Panchala? Answer. Chedi. 117. Who ruled over the Madhura region, according to the Puranas? Answer. Yadu tribe. 118. What is the significance of the Vrishni clan in the history of Sausena Madhur? Answer. Krishna and Balram belonged to the Vrishni clan. 119. Which clan migrated to Dwarka and became rulers of the region? Answer. Yadhu tribe. 120. Which kingdom's rulers were primarily associated with the Vrishni clan of Yadhu tribe? Answer. Sausena Madhur. 121. Where was the Aska kingdom located? Answer. Nizamabad and Nanded. 122. Which two kingdoms were founded by princes of the Ikshwaku dynasty in South India? Answer. Aska and Mulka. 123. Who was the ruler of Aska kingdom when Mahapadma Nanda invaded it? Answer. Brahmadatta. 124. Which region did both the Aska and Mulk kingdoms belong to? Answer. Godavari region. 125. Who was the first king to invade South India according to the text? Answer. Mahapadma Nanda. 126. In which kingdom did Mahapadma Nanda build many irrigation canals? Answer. Kalinga. 127. Who repaired the irrigation canals built by Mahapadma Nanda in Kalinga? Answer. Kharvela. 128. What does the term Nava Nanda Dera refer to? Answer. The barracks of the 9 Nandas. 129. The term Nanded is believed to have originated from which term? Answer. Nava Nanda Dera. 130. Which king is credited with conquering both the Aska and Kalinga kingdoms? Answer. Mahapadma Nanda. 131. Who was the first king of Magad? Answer. Brihadrada. 132. Which dynasty ended the Brihadrada dynasty and brought Magad into prominence? Answer. Haryanka dynasty. 133. Bimbisara expanded his empire using which of the following strategies? Answer. All of the above. 134. Bimbisara's matrimonial alliances included all except. Answer. Jeevka, a physician from Kalinga. 135. Who was sent by Bimbisara to treat Pradyotha Mahasena of Avanti? Answer. Jeevka. 136. Why was control over Tamralipthi important for Magad? Answer. It was a vital seaport for trade. 137. What title was given to Bimbisara, meaning maker of army? Answer. Senika. 138. Which of the following kings is considered the first to maintain a standing army? Answer. Prasenajit of Kosala. 139. According to Yuan Zhang, who built Rajagriha Girivraj? Answer. Bimbisara. 140. How many Gramikas attended the meeting conducted by Bimbisara? Answer. 84,000. 141. What is the term Upostha associated with in Buddhist tradition? Answer. Buddhist confession. 142. According to Jain tradition, what was Bimbisara's end? Answer. Committed suicide in prison. 143. What was the primary strategy of Ajtashatru? Answer. Conquest. 144. Who was the daughter of Prasenajit who married Ajtashatru? Answer. Vajjira. 145. Which kingdom did Ajtashatru invade to gain control of Kashi? Answer. Vajji. 146 According to Buddhist texts, who was the immediate successor of Ajatashatru? Answer: Udyana. 147 What was the name of the city built by Udyana, which was later called Patliputra by the Greeks? Answer: Pataliputra. 148 Who ended the Haryanka dynasty by killing Udyana? Answer: Sisunga. Sisunga dynasty. 149 Where did Sisunga rule from? Answer: Vaishali. 150 Which kingdom did Sisunga conquer during his reign? Answer: Avanti. 151 Who was the successor of Sisunga? Answer: Kalsoka. 152 Where did Kalsoka shift the capital? Answer: Pataliputra. 153 Who ended the Sisunga dynasty? Answer: Mahapadma Nanda. Nanda dynasty. 154 What is notable about the Nanda dynasty's origins? Answer: It was the first non-Kshatriya dynasty. 155 According to Jain literature, Mahapadma Nanda was born to which social group? Answer: Shudra. 156 What was Mahapadma Nanda's relationship with the Queen of Kalsoka? Answer: He had an extramarital affair with her. 157 Which of the following kingdoms was not conquered by Mahapadma Nanda? Answer: Vatsa. 158 What title did Mahapadma Nanda hold, which translates to the slayer of all Kshatriyas? Answer: Sarvakshatrantaka. 159 From the word Navananda Dera, which place name originated? Answer: Nanded. 160 Which of these regions did Mahapadma Nanda not extend his empire to? Answer: Northwest India. 161 What military technique is Mahapadma Nanda said to have used during his campaigns? Answer: Padmavyuha. 162 Who was the last king of the Nanda dynasty? Answer: Dhanananda. 163 What was Dhanananda's original name? Answer: Ugrasena. 164 What was the size of Dhanananda's army according to Greek sources? Answer: 2 lakh infantry, 3,000 elephants, 2,000 chariots. 165 Why did Alexander's soldiers refuse to cross the river Bias? Answer: The Nanda army was too powerful, and they feared defeat. 166 How did Chandragupta Maurya end the Nanda dynasty? Answer: By defeating Dhanananda in battle and dethroning him. 167 How did Dhanananda die after his dethronement? Answer: He was pardoned and allowed to leave with a chariot full of gold. 168 Which of the following was not a factor that contributed to Magadh's power? Answer: A fertile agricultural economy. 169 What was the strategic importance of Pataliputra as the capital? Answer: It was located between the Ganga, Son, and 180 Which of the following crops were cultivated in India by the 5th century AD? Answer: Mustard and paddy. 181 Which group of people are believed to have been the first to cultivate paddy through transplantation in the world? Answer: Inhabitants of Koldeva, Uttar Pradesh. 182 What type of coin was introduced during the 6th century BC in India? Answer: punchmarked coins. 183. What did the punchmarked coins from the 6th century BC usually represent? Answer: birds, trees, and various symbols. 184. Which symbol was used by the Mauryan kings on their coins? Answer: peacock symbol. 185. Which king used the crescent symbol on their coins? Answer: Bindusara. 186. What was the main feature of the coins used during the Mauryan period? Answer: they had inscriptions, symbols, and images. 187. What type of economy is mentioned in the context of ancient India, where coins had actual value based on the metal used? Answer: capitalistic mode of production. 188. According to Panini, which of the following types of punch-marked coins were mentioned? Answer: Rupya and Niska. 189. According to Pali literature, who was Saddalputta? Answer: a capitalist and owner of 500 pottery industries. 190. What term is used to describe a capitalist in ancient India, as mentioned in the context of Saddalputta? Answer: Gahapati. 191. What was the primary role of guilds in the post-modern period? Answer: to manage trade and crafts through associations of merchants and artisans. 192. How many guilds were mentioned to exist during the post-modern period? Answer: 18 guilds. 193. What benefit did members of guilds enjoy? Answer: investment with minimal risk. 194. According to the Nasik inscription, what interest rate was paid by guilds to depositors? Answer: 12%. 195. What was the interest rate charged by guilds on borrowed money, as per the Nasik inscription? Answer: 18%. 196. Which of the following was the head of a guild known as? Answer: Jatka Jestka. 197. Which guild was associated with the manufacturing of oil? Answer: Telika Shreni. 198. How did the caste system emerge in ancient India, according to the information on guilds? Answer: through the emergence of jatis from guilds, with endogamy and commensality. 199. What was the primary social feature of guilds that led to the emergence of castes? Answer: members practiced endogamy and commensality. 200. What was the role of guilds in the development of caste systems? Answer: they were responsible for the emergence of castes through specialization. 201. During which period did the first cities of the Indo-Gangetic Basin emerge? Answer: Mauryan. 202. Which civilization is associated with the first urbanization in the Indian subcontinent? Answer: Indus Valley Civilization. 203. Which region was associated with the second urbanization in India? Answer: Indo-Gangetic Basin. 204. What characteristic was absent in the cities of the second urbanization compared to those of the first urbanization? Answer: grade system. 205. Which of the following cities did Ananda, Buddha's most favorite disciple, mention in relation to the 60 cities during Buddha's time? Answer: Rajagriha. 206. According to Pali literature, which caste comes first in the caste sequence? Answer: Kshatriya. 207. What was the attitude of the Kshatriyas towards Brahmanical domination during the 6th century BC? Answer. They resented Brahmanical domination and opposed it. 208. Which of the following religions supported money lending at reasonable interest? Answer. Jainism and Buddhism. 209. According to Jainism, what was the attitude towards trade and commerce? Answer. It was strongly supported. 210. According to Bodhyana Smriti, what is the stance on urban dwellers in relation to salvation? Answer. Urban dwellers were considered ineligible for salvation. 211. In the 6th century BC, what caused the agrarian crisis in the Indo-Gangetic basin? Answer. Indiscriminate killing of cattle for rituals. 212. According to Suthanipta, which of the following is not a description of a cow? Answer. Giver of wisdom. 213. Who were the Agjas according to the 6th century BC religious and social system? Answer. Asudras. 214. According to the Aitharya Brahmana, how was Sudras viewed? Answer. They were considered inferior and eligible to be beaten. 215. During the period of 600 BC to 200 BC, which religious tradition experienced a decline? Answer. Vedic religion. 216. What term refers to the heterodox philosophers during the 6th century BC? Answer. Sramanas. 217. How many heterodox sects were there during the 6th century BC? Answer. 62. 218. During the 6th century BC, how did the world view philosophers in relation to religious development? Answer. Many philosophers emerged worldwide, influencing religious development. 219. How many Maha Janapadas are listed in the Buddhist text Anguttara Nikaya? Answer. 16. 220. Which of the following was not one of the Sodasha Maha Janapadas? Avanti, Magad, Kalinga, Kosala. Answer. Kalinga. 221. Which of these kingdoms survived during the lifetime of the Buddha? Matsya, Anga, and Panchala. Vatsa, Avanti, Kosala, and Magad. Kuru, Gandhara, and Sursena. Vajji, Malla, and Chedi. Answer. Vatsa, Avanti, Kosala, and Magad. 222. What form of governance did the Maha Janapadas generally follow? Answer. Either monarchical or republican. Kingdom of Vatsa. 223. The kingdom of Vatsa was located on the banks of which river? Answer. Yamuna. 224. The capital city of Vatsa was? Answer. Kausambi. 225. Which ruler of Vatsa was known for his political alliances through marriage? Answer. Udyana. 226. Under whose reign was Vatsa annexed by Avanti? Answer. Palka. Kingdom of Avanti. 227. Avanti corresponds to which modern region? Answer. Madhya Pradesh. 228. The capital city of Avanti was? Answer. Ujjaini. 229. Chanda Pradyota Mahasena, the ruler of Avanti, was known for? Answer. Promoting Buddhism and strengthening the kingdom. 230. The fall of Avanti occurred during which period? Answer. in the 4th century BCE. Kingdom of Kosala. 231. Which kingdom largely corresponds to modern Oudh? Answer: Kosala. 232. Who was the prominent king of Kosala during the Buddha's time? Answer: Prasenjit. 233. What was the capital city of Kosala? Answer: Ayodhya. 234. What caused the dispute between King Prasenjit of Kosal and Ajatashatru of Magad? Answer: a territorial conflict over Kashi. 235. Kosala finally became a part of which kingdom? Answer: Magad. 236. Which Bharhut sculpture theme is associated with King Prasenjit? Answer: cordiality between Prasenjit and Buddha. 237. Who were the real founders of the Magad kingdom? Jarasandha and Brihadratha. Answer: Bimbisara and Ajatashatru. 238. What was the capital of the Magad kingdom during the reign of Bimbisara and Ajatashatru? Answer: Rajagriha. 239. Who was the principal queen of Bimbisara? Answer: Kosla Devi. 240. Which kingdom did Bimbisara annex after defeating Brahmadatta? Answer: Anga. 241. How did Bimbisara die? Answer: he starved to death or consumed poison. 242. What remarkable military achievement is attributed to Ajatashatru? Answer: subduing a confederacy of 36 kingdoms under the leadership of Licchavis. 243. What significant interaction did Ajatashatru have with Lord Buddha? Answer: he confessed to killing his father Bimbisara. 244. Which dynasty succeeded the Haryankas in Magad? Answer: Sisunga. 245. How did Kalsoka, the successor of Sisunga, meet his end? Answer: he was murdered by the founder of the Nanda dynasty. 246. Who was the founder of the Nanda dynasty? Answer: Mahapadma Nanda. 247. When was the Haryanka dynasty established? Answer: 544 BC. 248. Who is considered the founder of the Haryanka dynasty? Answer: Bimbisara. 249. Which city was the capital of the Haryanka dynasty initially? Answer: Rajagriha. 250. Which ruler shifted the capital of the Haryanka dynasty to Patliputra? Answer: Uddin. 251. According to ancient texts, who were the high-ranking officials in the governance structure of the Haryanka dynasty? Answer: Gramakas and Mahamatras. 252. What was the title of King Bimbisara? Answer: Senya. 253. Which religious texts claim that Bimbisara followed their respective religions? Answer: Jain and Buddhist texts. 254. Who succeeded Bimbisara as king of Magad? Answer: Ajatashatru. 255. Which kingdom did Ajatashatru conquer during his reign? Answer: Licchavis of the Vajjika League. 256. Who overthrew the Haryanka dynasty? Answer: Shishunga. Nandas. 257. Who was the founder of the Nanda dynasty? Answer: Mahapadma Nanda. 258. What was Mahapadma Nanda known for during his reign? Answer: expanding his kingdom through conquests. 259. Which territories did Mahapadma Nanda conquer during his reign? Answer. Kurus, Panchalas, Ikshvakus, Asmakas, and Surasenas. 260. Which inscription mentions the conquest of Kalinga by a ruler of the Nanda dynasty? Answer. Hathigumfa inscription of Kharvela. 261. Which historians' accounts confirm the greatness and vastness of the Nanda dynasty? Answer. Greek writers during Alexander the Great's invasion. 262. According to Buddhist sources, how long did Mahapadma Nanda rule? Answer. 10 years. 263. Who succeeded Mahapadma Nanda after his death? Answer. Dhanananda. 264. Who was the ruler of Magadh when Alexander invaded India in 326 BC? Answer. Dhanananda. 265. Which of the following states is believed to have been part of Mahapadma Nanda's kingdom? Answer. The Deccan region. 266. Which dynasty came to power after the Nandas? Answer. Maurya dynasty.